All right, so Monday, May 2nd, this article published by Politico caused an uproar, quoting a draft leak, draft opinion leak out of the U.S. Supreme Court, authored by Justice Samuel Alito, stating, I quote, Roe was egregiously wrong from the start and it needs to be overturned, unquote. This is highly unusual, a leak out of the U.S. Supreme Court. It rarely ever happens. I haven't really seen something in recent memory. Because when you look at the amount of people that have access to this opinion, basically the 9 justices and their clerks, totaling 50, not many. So now the marshal of the court is investigating this, trying to figure out who leaked this thing and whether they should be prosecuted by the DOJ. So it did cause an uproar, naturally, because this is an important ruling, if that's the case, and people naturally are saying 100 million people, 100 million women are affected by this in the United States. And what's next after that? So are they going to go after Griswold and try to overturn Griswold, which prevents American women from having contraception? So this is an important ruling, if that's the case, and we know that a lot of these judges, the conservative judges that were pushed in by the right, we knew at some point there was chances that they may target Roe v. Wade and try to overturn it, because you could tell by their track record they're pretty conservative, especially Amy Coney Barrett, Neil Gorsuch, and their record states that there was chances that they could work on overturning Roe. So now, if that's the case, this is very significant, to say the least. And in my analysis, back in the day when McConnell was basically pushing Amy Coney Barrett into the Supreme Court right at the tail end of President Trump's, at the end of his presidency. At that point, I was advocating for the expansion of the court. And everyone that listened to that was saying, well, that will never happen. It's true, it may never happen. The thing is that the expansion of the court, sometimes when you look at what happened during FDR time, and the bill wasn't, some of the things he was working on, like unemployment, Social Security, Medicare, they were extremely unpopular. And there were people actually threatening in court, trying to shoot down these landmark legislations like Social Security, Medicare, unemployment, and all that. So at that point, all FDR had to do was threaten the expansion or stacking of the court, and that's all he did. He just basically threatened it, and which is what I was saying in light of what FDR had done in the past. I was simply stating my opinion that threatening to expand the court may actually work, but Senator McConnell was so gung-ho about that at that point. He was so aggressive about it, and he's been planning that for so many years that even threatening to expand the court may not have prevented that nomination, period. So moving forward, when I was analyzing this particular ruling and the threat to Roe, even right now, I'm saying the same thing that I did when Amy Coney Barrett was being nominated and was being sent to the U.S. Supreme Court, that expanding the court may be our solution and may be the solution for the left to pursue. If not, there is another way to do it. You could try to reassign some of these judges, and the president has this power. I don't think President Biden will do it. I don't think he has the nerve to do this, and he already stated his opinion with regards to expansion of the court. He clearly stated during his campaign that he is not a believer of expanding the courts. So I don't really have any hopes as far as President Biden is concerned with regards to expanding the courts from 9 to 15, which is what I was advocating for. But this thing, when you're studying this thing now, this thing is gonna, basically the Republicans are scrambling to do damage control now after this leak happened on Monday, May the 2nd. They're trying to distract from this whole thing because they know this is going to end up hurting the Republicans in the midterms, which is very likely now, by the way, because all those, there's, like, as I said, there's 100 million women that are affected by this potential overturning of Roe. So, and they're going to come out in numbers, and I hope they do, because if they don't, then we're going to lose basically the House. And Chuck Schumer, the Senate majority, the current majority leader, was basically talking about trying to codify Roe in the Senate, and he wanted to take a vote. And he was saying this on Monday, May the 2nd, as in light of this leak that happened, that he would try to codify a vote and turn it into law so it couldn't be overturned. And that is one solution there. And he is right. Taking a vote kind of clearly puts every single senator on the it basically puts them on the hot seat there, so to speak, to make their position clear on Roe v. Wade. And at that point, the public will decide who will, vote in which manner. So if they decide to vote against it, then everyone knows that such and such senator voted against it. Trying to codify it now would be a good thing. It was very favorable, to say the least. So it could end up helping the Democrats in the midterms. From my analysis, because now you're going to have a large number of people coming out trying to protect Roe and see if they can keep the majority in the House. So it could end up helping the Democrats in the midterm. That's why the Republicans are scrambling, trying to do damage control in light of this leak now. So, but going back to my point, when Amy Coney Barrett was being nominated, at that point I said this is kind of a risky situation for the left, and it could affect Roe v. Wade if the court is not, at the very least, threatened by expansion. So I was advocating for expanding the court from 9 to 15, and I still say that. You may even not have to do it, just the threat of expanding the court has an effect, which FDR proved it did, because they were looking to block those legislations, Social Security, unemployment, Medicare, Medicaid, and basically what he did, FDR did at that point, was threaten to expand the court. He just threatened it. He didn't actually even attempt it, but he threatened it. And so in this case, threatening an expansion could have the similar effect that FDR had. That was my opinion. That's what I was advocating for. back when Amy Coney Barrett under Trump was being pushed through, and I saw how quickly she was pushed through it, and McConnell had been planning that for years to get a precedent that would kind of basically help push certain judges in there. And so right now the conservative majority clearly could threaten not just Roe, but it could threaten Griswold, which would prevent American women from having contraception. So that is possibly their next move if this thing goes through. So threatening to expand the court is a good idea, in my opinion, or codifying it in the Senate as what Schumer is trying to do is extremely important at this point. If that doesn't work, I would advocate for reassignment of these judges. The president has the ability because they're in for life, but the president has this ability to reassign judges. And a lot of people are unaware of this, but he does have this privilege in the executive branch to reassign the judges and see if he could bring in, level the playing field there at the very least, see if he could reassign maybe a couple of them. But right now, the way it stands right now, it looks like they could overturn it. That's the ruling, and that Justice Samuel Alito authored this and basically was pitching to overrule Roe v. And so now whenever a conservative justice is being nominated, he's going to dodge that question. He or she's going to dodge that question of the precedents there, of whether Roe should be overturned. I remember John Roberts, Gorsuch, and when Amy Coney Barrett, Justice Coney Barrett was being nominated, I knew they would dodge this question. I knew, but because it's not a very unusual thing for them to try to dodge it, because everyone knows their record. They're very conservative, and they could possibly overturn. So now no one believes them, and it comes to this. It's clear that when they were being asked under oath, they clearly dodged those questions having to do with overturning Roe. So now we are looking at this time and point that you absolutely cannot trust the conservative judges when they're being pushed in there and they say, well, I stand with the precedents there and I support the precedents, and I don't think I would work on overturning any of these key landmark decisions made by passed by the court in the past. So you can't trust them anymore as far as the conservative justices who are extremists, and they would try to do things of this sort. Now look, it affects 100 million women in the United States. So this is kind of a touchy situation, but it is going to fire back at the Republicans in the midterm. And I'm pretty sure women will come out in the numbers, and there's a lot of support there from men too that will come out and try to see if they can keep the majority in the House and not lose that. So Chuck Schumer needs to pursue this thing, take a vote, try to codify Roe in the Senate, and take a vote. That way we know where every single senator stands on this particular landmark ruling there of Roe v. Wade. So I would do that in the Senate at this point. Expansion of the court is something that I personally advocated for in the past when Justice Barrett was being pushed in there, that you have to threaten this thing or they're going to try to overturn Roe v. Wade, which is what they're doing exactly. So my point was at least threaten to do it. And then when we asked then candidate Biden, he absolutely said, no, I am not for the expansion of the courts. So we know he's not going to do it. It may be a different precedent, but President Biden won't do it. The Senate is the best chance for us to codify Roe v. Wade into law, and I would advocate for that very strongly at this point. And we have yet to see what happens in the midterm, but I feel very strongly this could end up helping the Democrats in the midterm. So we have yet to wait and see what does happen. But my opinion still stands. I would still, in light of this, threaten to basically expand the courts, if not the reassignment of the judges. I would try one of these two items there to see what happens. Let's see wait and see what does happen. But this is unfortunate, this leak that happened on Monday.